Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Nick. You guys know who I am. So here's the deal. This recording, foolishly, I popped open OBS and just started recording and didn't realize that I had my input muted, so you couldn't hear Matt and I at all for this whole game. So I'm just gonna do a recording over it, talking about the game. Shout out to Matt Coggins, captain of Eurotrash. He was a lot of fun to play against, an absolute pleasure. He brought a rebel list. He brought Han with Bistan trick shot, engine upgrade, a couple of the Y-Wings, including Horton with some concussion bombs and dorsal turrets, boy Luke, and Sabine with Beskar. So a little bit of what we've seen before, but a couple of Y-Wings. Nice to see a little different flavor. I brought my Gen Con list here, but with SL Tomax. So you got Starter Set Vader, you've got the boys, you've got SL Tomax, and Merrick has his fire control and shield upgrade. Now only 1/5 of this list is build your own. Everything else standardized. So I'm just going to kind of talk over this game very casually, of course. To just talk about my thought process. This is a list that I probably I've had the most success with ever playing an X-Wing. You know, and to sound at risk of sounding kind of conceited, I consider myself to be a pretty decent X-Wing player. However, in the last about year, I feel like I've hit another level, especially with Empire, switching over from Rebels, which I played Rebels almost exclusively, over to Empire, which Empire is in my top 3 factions since I started playing X-Wing. I'd say it goes Rebel, Empire, Scum. I love Scum, but I'm not really getting many reps in with that faction these days for obvious reasons. As you guys can see, we're talking about the how awesome their logo is. Matt put together a team, all of them based in the UK. So and also the Eurotrash team was the first team to go 3-0, and they're definitely in the playoff picture. This is the first game of the series here for the final week of the regular season. For those of you that don't really know how our team league works, there are 2 divisions, 6 teams in each division, and the teams have 3 players in them, including a captain. And whichever team has the most mission points of the 2 that are paired up against each other, that team is the home team and the captain gets to pick the pairing and the scenario. However, each player does have 2 factions, so they can choose which faction they want to bring after pairings have been decided. So it's a best of 3 series. Whichever team wins 2 out of 3 or more obviously wins the week. So both my team, the 312 crew, captained by Epionic, shout out to my boy Daniel, and Matt's team, he's captain of his team, the Eurotrash team. We're both 3-2 at the time of this recording here. So you see, I'm spreading out all my ships here. This is how I always play this list. It's really important to get good board coverage. Have the Battle of Yavin Ties on one side of the board that is a little bit more open, so that they can hard turn in and crash into the center once they've either jousted with or threatened an enemy. They can always bank in, but it's important to give them a lane to go fast and to threaten. Excuse me as I hit my microphone there. Tomax, I always like to have towards the middle of the board. In front of an obstacle, you could always decide to have him barrel roll left or right, depending on who's first player and where you see your opponent setting up their ships. You can always kind of course correct. I think being able to kind of hedge your bets and not tip your hand as to which direction you're going is really important. So we see the Y-Wings, their dorsals to the back. They don't have any missiles. So in my eyes, going up against this, the Y-Wings are going to be the easiest and least threatening pieces in Matt's list. Obviously, Han with trick shot is something to be mindful of. He can still, despite not having 2 focuses, Bistan, you can still get some really good damage in with Han. And Luke obviously carrying the proton torpedo is something that you want to be aware of as well. So I have Merrick kind of facing off on the opposite side of Luke. And typically if Luke is the only piece on that side of the board, I'd be more tempted to 3 or 4 straight in the first round, maybe 3 straight with Merrick, and then go real fast the next turn. But as you'll see, as I'm setting up my Vader here, I wanted to originally put him closer to Merrick, but where the asteroid and the debris are there, I could 4 or 5 straight and have a really nice lane to kind of crash into the left or right of the board, depending on which side I see Matt kind of pushing his ships. So it just basically, even though I'm a little closer to the left side of the board, keeps Vader flexible if he needs to course correct and change his engagement path. So we're placing Han there. We forgot our little turret indicators. We're going to do that real quick. We're playing Scramble. As you can see, we've got the my point is right in front of Tomax. So initially when I set up my I5s, I had Tomax was going to be the guy to scramble. But as soon as he put Han right next to Luke with his turret arc facing forward back with his mobile arc rather, I decided that I'm going to have Merrick be the one to grab that first point. So in a second, you'll see me dial in a 2 hard with Merrick. There it is. Because it is just a 4-point, a joust, a suicidal joust for me to throw Merrick out there for pretty much no reason. Han can 4 straight boost, and Luke can 4 straight boost, and I could potentially lose Merrick in the first engage, or best case scenario, have him be half health. So it makes no sense for me to throw him out there. I think that's one thing that maybe less experienced X-Wing players do, is they're more willing to just fly towards the action, even if they don't have the means to be able to engage. By the means, I mean the ability to make it worth it. Merrick would be sitting there if he's lucky to get a lock, shooting a range 3 shot, single modded, and taking an absolute beating in return. So the 2 hard made the most sense. I can barrel roll, which you'll see me do in a second, and then I can go fast and straight and scramble the following turn and have him kind of come in an engagement late and mop up something. So yeah, overall, I'd say this scenario in this matchup, definitely I felt pretty confident, especially with Han being nerfed with the recent points update. Without him having Perceptive Copilot and his arc being front to back, I felt like he wasn't going to be as threatening. And if he was going to be threatening, he would be at range 1 of a lot of my ships, so I could probably take him down and focus fire him a lot more easily than we've been able to in the past. So here's our road roll here for the first round. Overall, this was a really fun game, really good practice. This is pretty much this. I've decided, I'm just going to say it, it's going to be my worlds list. I know it like almost like the back of my hand. It's fun. It's very simple. It's easy for me and my opponent to wrap their heads around. The high initiative makes it really strong, and the point spread, everything is so cheap. Besides Vader, who's so difficult to take down if you know how to play him. So, we have Sabine going in, and she is going to just sit there and focus, setting herself up to be an objective player next turn, either with the right objective on his side near Han, or of course the center point. This is the first thing. This is Yvonne. I forgot the name of the other Y-Wing, but Yvonne kind of banking towards the boys here. Now, all of a sudden, if I go fast enough, the next turn, I can pounce on this Y-Wing, and there's going to be almost no support to prevent that or threaten me from doing so. So as soon as I saw him do that, I kind of made up my mind that the TIE fighters are going to go after that Y-Wing at all costs, and then they'll be in a position to turn in and move into the center of the board after that. It also is apparent that he's going to try to have at least 2 of his pieces kind of come in towards the middle. One thing I wasn't expecting him to do, though, we'll see in a second, is to turn Luke in. I thought we were going to see Luke go 3 or 4 straight. But him turning Luke in, it does set him up to be able to 4 straight towards the middle of the board on his side, or to bank and claim the scramble point. Here you can see both of the TIE fighters. I did not afterburners. I typically don't like to afterburners when I am not necessarily getting a shot. Those charges are precious, and in the end game, I find them to be really helpful to have 1 left. So I try to use them. I try not to use them sparingly in the first turn, unless it's just so obvious I can pounce on something. But so this is where I decide to barrel roll Tomax to. I was looking at the right, but because of that rock there on the right in the middle of the board and the trick shot with Han, I thought barrel rolling him to the left would make more sense and get him more distance, and also be able to 4 straight barrel roll next turn to set up a plasma torp into the Y-Wing. or Luke, depending on how aggressive he got with Luke. And so this is where Matt kind of chastises me. He says, "Oh, you cowardly turned away with Merrick," because he was trying to catch me there. That's exactly why I turned away, because I knew that was a very real possibility. So he boosts there. That's his action. Obviously, we're not really going to be shooting. And then Vader, 4 straights. I thought about for a second using afterburners, but then I saw where everything was going to be. And I decided, I could barrel roll to the left, but looks like a 3 bank will be pretty safe next turn. And I can chain combo all my actions to scramble, focus lock, whatever I need to do. So yeah, I was pretty happy with where everything was. Just have focus there with him, not that we're getting any shooting. The real thing is, where do I think Han's going? I thought next turn I might see Han do a 2 bank or a hard 3 towards the middle of the board. The bank would be kind of, to me, a little odd, just because Merrick is going to be hard to catch, and he's just you're keeping a big hitter out of the fight for no real reason. But I felt okay with where Vader was in comparison, because worst case scenario, I'm probably getting shot at like range 2 or 3 by Han, and Vader has so much health. Han only has his built-in full double mod, force double mod with the pick up the dice and reroll everything. So, 2 or 3 hits come in, maybe I take a shield or 2. Feel okay. So that affects my dial choices. I still feel confident with the 3 bank for Vader. You'll see me dial that in a second. The boys, I dial in 4 straights. The Y-Wing can only go so fast as a 3 bank. And I saw that I could dial in a 3, but then I'd have to use afterburners, but it looked like the 4 straight would fit, be range 1, and I wouldn't have to worry about using afterburners. So again, if I can avoid using them sparingly, I'm going to. And that was those were the choices I made. Initially, I had like a 3 straight or 4 straight picked out for Merrick, but I decided to dial in a 5, just in case Han tried to bully him. I already knew Merrick probably wasn't getting a great shot in. And I didn't feel like turning up. I needed him to be the scenario getter. So I was just going to dial in a fast maneuver and have him scramble my side to ensure I get that point, because I don't know when I'd ever be back there again to get it, right? All right, so our mistakes are being chosen, being set. This is a big turn, though. This is a really important round. The first engagement can always set the tone for the rest of the match, especially when you have overlapping high initiatives that are capable of serious spike damage, like Han and Luke, Vader and Tomax, and obviously the boys. All eyes on what happens in the middle and the left side of the board. Very important engagements coming up here. And Matt will be first player again. So first we're going to move Sabine. I think he boosts Sabine and then 5 straights, I believe. All right, so here's the Y-Wing going as fast as the Y-Wing can go and taking a focus. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, 4 straights look good. That's going to be a really bad time for Yvonne, unfortunately, as Horton sits there in the middle of the board and takes a focus. We saw Sabine scramble. As soon as Sabine went that fast, I was like, ooh, I don't know about the 3 bank. But then I took a quick look. I was like, yeah, that still fits with a bit of space to spare. And Merrick goes fast and claims, as we saw Luke claim as well, the top right board. And here comes Tomax just fitting the barrel roll front forward there and being able to link to the target lock. But after he performs that barrel roll, he gets his focus as well with the SL Tomax's ability, those 2 charges that are recurring. Such a strong 3-point value piece in the Empire right now. And of course, he takes a stress for doing that. And here come the boys. 4 straight and focus. So that was one thing. Matt decided to joust the Y-Wing with the boys, and it was just kind of a lost, like, it's just a lost cause. It's unfortunately Y-Wings can't really stand up to that kind of focus fire. So we'll see how that plays out. But we saw the turn in with Han, which was a really solid choice. But as soon as I saw him do that, I realized the ion bomb would be a big factor in this game. So we'll definitely talk about that in a bit. Here's that 3-bank from Vader. So Sabine does have Beskar. So I claim first because I have to do that during my perform action step, and then I debate on how I want to chain my actions. So first action, I spend a force to take a target lock, and I decided because I'm going to fire a torpedo at the Y-Wing that it just makes more sense to shoot at the Y-Wing and focus fire instead of splitting up that fire. If I barrel roll out of Sabine's arc, then I don't have to worry about Beskar being a factor, but Sabine is a 2-point ship that I'm not too worried about. I would rather get more points and be smarter with where I'm focusing my attention. So I spend another force to do the linked focus barrel roll. So instead of spending all my force, I'm spending 2 and then linking it to a focus there. Gosh, Vader is so fun and so good. And everybody has officially moved. So now start of engagement, we were talking about Yvonne's ability. You could spend a focus to roll an additional defense die for the rest of the turn, but we kind of laughed that off because it would probably not matter. You just hold on to the focus for defense. And so Han will be shooting first, as I'm so OCD. You guys are going to see a lot of my little OCD TTS ticks here in this game, as Han is going to shoot at Vader first, I believe. He's talking about the order of operations. As long as you keep your focus, you can still Bistan and shoot at 2 ships. And so I believe he decides to shoot at Vader first. Yeah, he does. So this is the first shot at range 2 into Vader. And he rolls pretty poorly, but again, Han's ability is a thing. His reroll is pretty impressive. He just rolls natties. So Bistan's still going to be really damn good if you don't have to ever spend your focus. And Vader ends up taking... he's going to spend his force and get it back with hate and take a shield. And next up, we're going to be shooting the Bistan shot into Tomax here, 3-on-2. And pretty solid roll as he gets to spend his focus. Han was in a good spot there, and I take 2 there onto Tomax. So now Vader's turn to have some fun. You go range 1 into Horton. 4 dice on 1 here. Very kind of scary shot. These poor Y-Wings getting threatened at a close range. Not very happy about it. So already 2 crits. You spend the lock and spend the focus, and that's going to be 2 hits, 2 crits into Horton. And Horton rolls the guaranteed evade there. The Tyranny 1 agility, can't stop it. And shields and a crit into the hole already here. So neutralizes the plasma torp a little bit, but still a torpedo 3 dice attack is a 3 dice attack. Damage sensor ray, not the end of the world. However, it does impact scenario actions, which Matt brings up later when he wants to scramble with Horton and realizes he can't. Damage sensor ray, rough in that regard. Luke didn't have any shots, which is actually really key. He put Luke in a position to not help Han. He potentially could have killed Tomax this turn, and instead you're going to see Tomax do a lot of work in this game because of the way this engagement ended up going. So Tomax fires his plasma torpedo, and I decide to spend the focus, but then I actually say, hold on, I actually think I'm going to spend the lock instead. So I'm actually end up re-rolling that die. just because I'm taking range 1 from Sabine and then still a potential shot from the Y-Wing, right? Most likely. So I just decide, you know what, I'm going to keep the focus. He's 3 points, but I might as well make you earn it. 2 hits, so at least 1 damage going through, and Horton takes 2 more. So he's down to just 3 already. So 5 damage into Horton already here. And here come the boys. So now it's time for the Ties to do their business, shooting at Yvonne. And this is first going to be Mauler Mythal. No bullseye here. So any blanks I roll are blanks, but I roll that instead. So 3 hits and a crit, and I spend my focus. And here comes the damage. 4 into Yvonne immediately. Hit. And a crit. And the crit, I believe it was a panicked. No, this was a direct. Okay. So already down to just 3. So now Backstabber has a chance with 4 hits to just guarantee kill Yvonne. However, Backstabber does roll a couple of blanks, which happens with the boys sometimes. It's 2 crits. Still, crits are very nasty into Y-Wings. And he's going to end up spending his focus and taking a crit. And the crit is... Oh, we grabbed the whole damage deck by accident. This was kind of a funny moment. I was just trying to help him. He was like, he grabbed a card, I grabbed a card. I'm like, here, this is your card. There it is. And it's a Panic Pilot, which is rough. Poor Yvonne, just really taking a beating there. And double stressed. And now we're going to continue shooting into Tomax here, as Horton is going to take a shot range 2 into him. He does get to reroll an attack die if he needs to with his ability, because there is a friendly at 0-1, but he rolls his natties. And we're going to see a little freeze there of the dice, but another squiggle there as Tomax takes another damage, down to 3. Just a return shot here. He's going to choose the one that has spent the focus. So range 1 grabs the wrong dice. This is funny. It's like, you roll the wrong dice. Roll the one with the hit results on it. There we go. That way you can do damage. So he chooses to shoot at Mauler. This shot was actually really kind of laughable. And I didn't really care too much about it, just because I felt like the game was going very well in my favor. But only 1 crit, and I still don't roll an evade, so I take a crit. And the crit is a weapons failure, which is like, oh, the boys, they don't get their extra attack dice, but they have weapons failures. One thing to keep in mind is that both the Y-Wings have concussion bombs, and both of my ships are in positions to get hit by the concussion bombs, the boys and Vader to max. So we have Sabine... did scramble, so only 1 crit, and Tomax ends up rolling another evade. He's fine. So Tomax survives. He gets shot at 3 times and takes 3 damage. Damage per shot, not too bad. And that turn, it was 2-1 me in terms of scenario points, so we'll add that up here in just a second. So we're cleaning up our tokens. So a good first round for me. At this point, I felt pretty good. I needed to be mindful of the fact that Vader could take a concussion bomb and a range 1 shot from Luke, and I didn't exactly know where Han's firing arc would be. But the main thing on my mind was Yvonne's concussion bomb and making sure that both Backstabber and Mauler turn in while finding a way to also not get hit by that concussion bomb. So barrel rolls looked like that would be in order. And the ion bomb is the main thing on my mind, because I am looking at where I'm at, and I'm like, man, I don't think there's anywhere Han can go without eating an ion bomb. So this turn, I end up being able to drop one on Han here. We'll see how that unfolds. I don't want to spoil anything too much. Merrick, where Merrick is at, I figure just doing like a 3 bank and maybe I can reach out and try to finish off Yvonne for to grab a lock, depending on how fast Yvonne goes. That is definitely something I'm thinking about. And otherwise, it seemed like there wasn't really a good place for the Y-Wings to go. Sabine was just going to try to get out of there and play the objective. And Luke is really the main concern at this point, just because he's out there to try to kill Tomax or get some more damage into Vader. So sit here in silence for a second as we finish setting our dials. You see me set some 1 hards, and then I realize that the 1 hard is probably still going to be too close to the concussion bomb, so I ended up changing Mauler's maneuver, I believe, to a 2 hard. Still can't believe I forgot. I just didn't unmute my microphone. This is kind of cool, though, doing like a breakdown. I enjoy talking about X-Wing and playing X-Wing and going through my thought process, especially in this, spur of the moment, what's going through my head, and then looking back, kind of knowing how things unfold and where my mind was and maybe how I could do things differently and maybe where I feel like my instincts served me right. So besides the concussion bomb, the other thing with Mauler is, I don't really know if there is going to be a good time to be able to fix that weapons failure. The most important thing is to keep him near Backstabber and to keep him alive. Thankfully, Mauler is the cheaper one. The other benefit of having the boys in a list with Vader, obviously, is that if one of them dies, there are still opportunities to be able to get that extra attack die for one of them. So it doesn't happen very often when they're not relying on each other, but it's still possible, and that definitely really helps. They escalate to just incredible value pieces when they keep each other in side arc for most of the game. The challenge is keeping their time on target, having average variance, which sometimes be difficult. My dice. That those are 2 challenges. The other challenge is just keeping their angles right, because sometimes I feel like you afterburner one and not the other, and then one's at a 45, one's at a 90, and it starts to get a little awkward because they don't have 1 banks, they only have 2 banks. All right, and it looks like it's going to be me for this turn. I didn't really mind that too much, although for some reason I decided to 1 straight with Tomax. You'll see me do that in a second, but we start dropping bombs. He's dropping his concussion bombs. I'm going to drop my ion bomb. I decide to bank it just in case Han or Sabine is over there, and it would catch both of them. This bomb dropper template I got very disoriented looking at all the options. It was like, oh gosh, because usually it spawns in with the ship and it just gives you the options the ship allows you to do, but not in this case. And there is that concussion bomb. Remember, the rules with the concussion bombs is once you drop 1, as long as there's a charge spent, you have to keep dropping 1 each turn. So it was definitely important for me to try to get rid of these Y-Wings as soon as possible, because it's kind of a huge pain in the ass to deal with. The concussion bombs dealing face-up damage cards under the shields unless you take a strain to make it face down. And my 3 agility ships are just a little too squishy for me to be wanting to take a lot of strains. Mainly the boys are the ones I'm most concerned about, as Sabine is going to use her ability to barrel roll and then 5 straights. And he wasn't sure that he had range, but I told him it's like, hey, you can't really get out of the ion bomb. You're probably not going to be shooting at anybody because Merrick still has to move. So why not just try to scramble while you can? And he does. and he is in. He has the range to do it. So ended up being a good call there. Again, that's a point that I kind of knew I'd be losing at some point soon. It would be hard for me to get back unless I kept Merrick around. But as I talked about, I wanted to get Merrick to finish off Yvonne. So he checks and he's got it. There's the point. Man, I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking, a lot of streaming, a lot of talking. My throat is so dry from doing all this talking, but I do it for you all. I do it for the people. I do it for the people. And we're just going to go fast and straight and not clear our stress. I think that was a little bit of a mistake by Matt because he goes just fast enough that you'll see it allows Merrick to get into range for a target lock. And we talk about damage sensor right here with Horton banking, but not being able to scramble. So he just fixes damage sensor array. Here's that too hard with Mauler, and it becomes apparent that a barrel roll is going to get me out. So I bring the dial over there because for some reason I'm one of the few people that does that. Puts it on the board. Barrel roll, I'm fine. And backstabber, we're going to do the same thing. I don't know why it orients it like that, but again, it's just the weird ticks and quirks I have when I play on Tabletop Simulator. Barrel roll gives me plenty of space there out of range of the bomb. Just wanted to make sure I was going all the way forward. I think I wanted to go all the way forward there. So that's what I end up doing. Yeah. Just kind of eyeballing the my lane next turn if I'm going to have to deal with that debris or not. It looks like I don't have to deal with it if I go fast enough. So that was why I was kind of getting eye level there or ground level, I suppose. And we get a little bumperooski here. I didn't mind the bump here because Han can get blocked there. I'm out of range of the ion bomb, but Han will not be. I'm wondering if the 4 straight from Han would have cleared the rock. It's possible it would have, but he would have needed to boost away, and he would have completely disengaged if he did that. But here we go. We take that lock with Merrick. Feeling pretty good about that shot. Yvonne has no defensive tokens. And Luke with the 1 bank. And Luke, he checks for a target lock. And he decides that he's going to put it on the ship that has been damaged. Has taken 3 damage cards. Makes sense to me. And because I was first player, he goes Vader. So a couple things going through my mind. Where's Han going? Concussion bomb under the shields of Vader. I don't want to get strained because I could get one-shotted or one-rounded really by Han and Luke. So I decide, and there's a dorsal turret there facing the back. So that's a lot of shots that could be coming through. So it made the most sense to me to barrel roll to try to get in Han's way and get out of the bomb. And because Luke had a lock on Tomax, I wasn't too scared of him. I just needed to get out of range 1. And I don't even have to worry about scrambling, which is nice. So I throw a lock onto Luke. I'm thinking, hey, maybe I can ionize Luke, get the lock knocked off with an ion token with the ion missiles. So I end up spending all my force here to keep me from being stressed because I want to scramble the top right scenario objective next turn. So just looking, I just want to make sure I can fit a 3 bank next turn. It looks tight, but I think I'll be able to fit it just okay. And that is the rest of my list. And now it's time for Han to go. And he actually ends up dialing in a hard turn, which was really surprising to me just because Tomax was going to be in the way there, but now Vader ends up being in the way. And this is actually a great situation for me to be in because as you'll see, Tomax is not in his firing arc and Vader is at range 0. And Mauler isn't, I don't think he even has Mauler in his firing arc, so the concussion bomb ends up hitting nobody. Neither concussion bomb hits, so I'm proud of myself for getting out of those at least. And the ion bomb will hit both Sabine and Han. So all of a sudden, I know exactly where Han's going to be next turn. I can turn in with Merrick. The boys will know where to be. Vader's there. There's just, and obviously Tomax, if he survives, there's plenty of opportunity to pounce on that 7-point beast in the middle of the board. So the ion bomb tech being really good, locking down Han. I definitely anticipate the ion bomb on SL to Max being a pretty impactful piece at Worlds, especially going up against decimators and all that good stuff. They can't. It's really hard for them to avoid getting hit by bombs. So Han decides to go. The only shot he's got. He does not red focus because he can't modify his dice anyways. But we remembered that I was first player, so I'm like, I'm gonna shoot an ion missile at Luke. Double modded. I gotta focus. I need to be mindful of using it. I spend the lock, and unfortunately, I reroll into another blank. And I'm like, ugh. At this rate, I'm not going to ionize him. If he blanks out, though, and I get 2 hits, maybe I do. I will. So I spend the focus. I'm not too worried about Han's range 0 shot. Worst case, I take a shield. I get a force back or something, right? So Luke rolls natty evades, though. So doesn't work. The plan falls apart there, at least just the ion side of it. Not the end of the world. Han goes range 0 into Vader. And he gets hit crit. And Vader decides to be the ace that he is, and he rolls his 2 evade. And next up, I decided to go with Merrick, range 3 into Yvonne. Pick up the dice. Hit crit, 2 crits already, fire control system. But goes back to an eyeball. So just 2. He only rolls 1. So you'll see in a second, he ends up rolling an additional die here. And for some reason, I thought he had already rolled the evade. So I'm like, oh, no, this one becomes an evade. This one becomes an evade. Like, you still get that evade. He's like, oh, no, I that was actually my roll. I hadn't rolled the evade, the dice yet. So, little back and forth there. I was like very confused. He was like, oh, no, I didn't roll that die yet. So that is going to finish off Yvonne. That gets me a few more points. Don't have to deal with any more concussion bombs, although the boys wouldn't take the damage from it anyways, based on where they'd go next turn. But that's a potential nuisance off the board. And when we move on to the other Y-Wing there, now it's time to maybe focus fire that with the boys, as we're going to delete Yvonne, and then we're going to go on to Backstabber. And no side arc this time and no mod, so he's just going to roll 2 dice downtown, obstructed. Into Horton here. Range 3 obstructed. I looking back at this, I don't think Horton rolled enough defense dice. So I rolled natural hit crit. He only rolled 2. It's something we didn't really catch. And Horton fixed damage sensor array. So he takes hit crit, and he takes a structural damage. It wouldn't have really, in terms of like, there would have been one more shot in Horton, so I'm not sure it really matters too much, not rolling that extra die in, but, still matters. And Horton becoming a decimator with 0 agility, I roll range 0 with Tomax, and that is enough to kill Horton. So that's 6 points in the span of like 2 minutes. Gets me up to 9. And this is the single die shot into Han from Mahler with a with a weapons failure, and Han is gonna re-roll and still not get a single evade. He takes a shield. You'll find Han's rerolls to be really good in this game, though. It's the only time I feel like they failed him. Was that one really petty shot. Luke now gets to go. And this is where I think Mark, or rather Matt, may have made a mistake. Because he sees that Vader is forced down, no focus. And I totally understand what's going through his head. Is like, maybe I instinctive aim a torp into Vader. It's the only chance I have to maybe shoot at him. But because he only have one shot into him here, and it's 3 agility on 4 dice with a single mod, the odds of him getting more than a couple damage are pretty low. Versus having a kill shot and getting rid of a 3-point piece that's guaranteed points because he has that double modded shot, but he still decides to shoot at Vader. So Tomax was a lot more likely to die with a double modded torp to a double modded torp. But instead, he is going to instinctive aim. I spent the force for him there, just helping him out. He's going to shoot that instinctive aim torp at Vader instead. And let's see what we get here. And right off the bat, one of the reasons why I dislike instinctive aim, I mean, the prospect of getting 4 hits without needing to lock is there, but it still happens a lot when you roll blanks. And Vader rolls natty evades for the extra insult to injury there. Man. And it's 1-2 in favor of Matt into Eurotrash. So now I'm at 9 points. So it's, I think at that point it was 9-3. Everything on my side except for Tomax is really healthy. So I feel pretty good about things at this stage. I know Han isn't as much of a threat when he's ionized. Vader can 3-bank afterburners and claim the top point. Sabine isn't going to be much of a nuisance because Sabine is ionized. We can set up a really good kill box with Merrick and the boys. And I still have an ion bomb to drop as well. So I could block up Han and ionize him again. I just mark Han just to make sure I clear the 3-bank that I'm in there. So we go back to setting our dials here. So yep, verified the 3-bank. And now the order matters here. I'm going to need Backstabber to move faster and before Mauler. And make sure that he can fit a barrel roll to get out of Mauler's way, to make sure that they stay back in the formation, the side arc formation they like to be in. All right, just checking my Discord here as some games are being reported. Checking up on the scores coming through. Yeah, I smelled blood in the water with Han. Han has only taken a shield. Still got 4 shields left at 8 hole. But if I can focus fire him this turn and get into the hole, I feel really good about sealing this game sooner than later. Just want to, while I have a second, also just want to thank anybody watching this again for being a patron. Really means a lot. It helps us so much. There's so much we can do with that extra assistance that you guys are giving us, and I hope you enjoy this and enjoy the swag that is on your way. I've enjoyed being able to like record my games and share them with you all. And here is another ion bomb. I'm just going to use the straight maneuver this time. Just plop it right there. And Sabine was a little too fast. I think he dialed in the bank and then executed it, but we were just trying to undo it so we could do the ion bank instead, and there it is. Now Luke. Luke just banks in. And again, I think Matt gets a little crossed up here. He could. It looks like he probably has range on Mahler, who has already taken a damage card. But he is worried about Han and where Han might end up, so he decides he's going to barrel roll, which definitely clears things up for me and helps me out a bit. So he barrel rolls and he goes all the way to the back. And now that gives Tomax the opportunity to be able to 2-bank to clear the stress and then be able to do his triple action barrel roll ability target lock. Okay, so he arc dodged Luke in the process. And there it goes. Do all the things. Take that lock there, put it off to the side of Luke. And next it's time for the boys. I do a 5 straight there with Backstabber. And this is where I decide, you know what? I need to get out of the way of Mahler. Get side arc for both of these guys. And is being ionized with the TIE Fighter really a bad thing? I'm like, you know what? No, I think I'm going to accept being hit by my own ion bomb. Because next turn I could just 1-bank, which gives me a better dial than I would have had otherwise, a better choice to make. And I just focus. And I will have a really good shot into Han, assuming he gets hit by the ion bomb again. So I just like, you know what? I'll barrel roll. I'm not worried about getting shot by anybody. Luke is the only one that could do it, but Backstabber is pretty healthy. And here comes Mahler. Again, would be nice to fix the weapons failure, but I'm just going to sit there with a focus. And Han just bumps right into Vader. He did the 1 straight, and he's going to get hit by the ion bomb again. I'm just like, there's just kind of the sharks are circling at this point. There's a net being closed in on him at this point. I feel really good about being able to pin him in place for as long as I've been able to here. And here comes Vader's 3-bank. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to scramble and take a lock. Next turn, it sets up me being able to 4K afterburners and shoot at Han. So, spend my last force. And target lock Han. And the ion bomb hits, and it hits Backstabber and Han. So Han he's got a couple of good shots here. So, you know, he's got range 1 into a 3-hull Tomax, and he's gonna take that shot first, which makes perfect sense. Me at least. And he rolls pretty good roll, spends his focus. He decides he doesn't want the double tap, try to go for the kill, and I fortunately somehow rolled 2 eyeballs there and spend the focus to live on 1 hull right now. Sticking around. Little engine that could. It's time for Vader, who has nothing. So then we go over to Luke. Look at me organizing my damage cards all neatly. So this is, again, a situation where if he wants to fire a torpedo, he's going to have to instinctive aim again. And he's like, I'm going to do it. And I believe he decides to shoot at Mauler, I think. But he rolls just 3 blanks and a crit. So rough. And I roll exactly 1 evade. It might have been in a backstabber because I didn't have any tokens. I can't recall who he decided to shoot at. It might have been Mauler just because I had the damage card. Now it's time for the bomber. So Tomac's going to go range 1 into Luke. Not the best roll, only a crit. Spend the lock. Get absolutely nothing. So just 1 crit. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Luke's fine. And then he rolls double blanks. It still takes damage somehow. And we laugh that one off. Like, of course. The 1-shot Luke shouldn't be taking any damage. Of course he does. And this is where we start pouring into Han. So range 2 into Han. Weapons failure, so only 2 dice. My regular number of dice. Spend it for 2. Han's going to take at least 1. You roll too many dice. Just re-roll it. Re-roll again. Gets the evade. Takes 1. Starting slowly but surely. And don't call me Shirley. Range 2 from Backstabber. 3 dice unmodded. I'm hoping for a couple, but I believe I only get 1. Yeah, I only get 1 hit here. I have crack shot though. I'm like, I might as well use it. So I just crack that and get another shield down. And then Merrick, range 3. 1, 2, 3. Has the lock, so I get that extra die. Hoping maybe I can pick a crit under the hole. Pretty good. Merrick's shots have been solid. He fire controls, he gets a full string. And he rolls natty evades, so I'll only get a shield through. So 3 shots into him, only got a couple of shields down. I think 3 shields down total. But again, he's ionized again. So I know exactly where he's going to be. And I will be able to sink some good shots into him with Vader, with Merrick, and with Backstabber. And it's 2-1 there, so it puts me at 11. I think it's 11-4 at this point. So yeah, I got a 7-point lead. Based on where everybody is, I feel very confident at this point, right? Like 7-point lead, Vader's worth 6. I have a big enough lead that if I lose a ship, I still have a bit of a cushion. The only one I'm really expecting to lose is Tomax, and he's done his job. Got a lot of value out of in this game with the ion bombs. But the main thing I'm thinking about is just how do I put myself in the best position to pounce on Han to really get some damage cards into him this turn. So I decide I'm going to just block, go straight and block with Mauler and take that focus. Tomax just clears some stress, goes straight. I think I ended up picking, I had to do a setting multiple dials at the same time. This is how you can disorient yourself. I don't necessarily recommend this, but pretty straight there. For Merrick, you'll move after Backstabber's ion maneuver clears. Then Vader. For some reason, I'm thinking like, oh, I could Talon roll to the right and burners bank boost burners, but then the rock is still there. So I'm like, it's just best to just 4K boost straight. And all my dial choices have been made. And here is the road roll. First player doesn't matter as much to me. That is another benefit of this list, that unless you're blocking Vader, it doesn't seem to matter who moves first or last. Oh, I know sometimes Merrick is obviously blockable as well, but put him in a position where he just can't be blocked. Sabine just trying to be squirrely. She says, "Here comes Sabine." Doing our best here to get into this engagement, get some damage in. Is the only one that's, as Vader is taking a shield, and then the rest of the damage is just 1 face up on Mauler and then 5 damage on to Max. But Merrick and Backstabber fully healthy. Luke decides to turn away. He intended to regen. I was like, yeah, man, you can totally regen. I don't know. I feel like Luke probably would have been better served doing a K turn there just to keep a shot on. Now his only gun that can defend Han is disarmed and facing the wrong way. He takes a lock on Vader. Or like I was telling him, you don't need to focus. You got your force. And here comes the boys. Time to focus. And Stabber just going to do the 1 bank. Focus. And then Merrick getting super close to Han. So double modded shot from Merrick is really scary, especially against something like an Arc or a Falcon. When you're into the hole already, it's like he's like the Grim Reaper. So just sits there with the focus. And Tomac's just gonna go to the stress, and I jokingly I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna reload the ion bomb. I just do the red reload, get the ion bomb back. For some reason, you could change the setting in Tabletop Simulator to make the tokens bigger, but I always like to like grab from the stack and then enlarge them. It's kind of aesthetically pleasing. And I'm just gonna, again, I'm in a really good position in terms of who's getting shot at. It's just 1 range 0 shot going into Mauler, and Mauler has a focus. So we decide it's probably best to take the focus because you're getting shot at range 1 by 2 ships. And here comes the K-turn afterburner combo for Vader. And enlarge the token. There it is, nice and big. So Han will go first. And this is Exhibit A as to why range 0 can be a very volatile experience for us, and why sometimes we hate it, as he's going to roll a natural hit crit into Mauler. I feel pretty good about Mauler having that much health, but then I see he only rolls 1 paint. So I take hit crit, and it's a direct hit. So he just initiative kills pretty much what feels like a 1-shot Mauler at range 0. So now not only is Mauler initiative killed, but Backstabber doesn't get his extra die range 1 there either. So kind of a silly moment. Again, wasn't upset about it. It is kind of dumb the way that those things happen. Just ironically, Han somehow does the most damage when he can't mod his dice. So that we laughed at that. And now Vader's turn. He's going to angrily shoot at Han, and he will spend his force, and it'll be a hit crit. re-rolls his blanks, re-rolls into an evade. So it takes a shield and a crit. So now officially into the meaty hole. Wounded pilot. Next up, Backstabber, range 1. Already used a crack shot, no side arc because Mauler was obliterated at range 0. So just 3 dice with a focus. And that's a full string, so 3 hits. And Han is going to re-roll and yet again get paint, spend a focus, and take 2. So 5 hull left. And next, Merrick Steele, range 1 with the lock. And, I just realized, guys, I missed the discipline trigger on Backstabber. Would have been able to re-roll with a lock if I needed to, but thankfully I didn't need to, so it doesn't feel as bad. So this is kind of an annoying roll because I wanted to sink the crit into Han, so I decided to spend the focus to get the crit and then spend the lock. Just kind of going over. He's like, just re-roll everything. Do it. Get 4 crits. I'm like, I'm okay with 1. Unfortunately, this re-roll ends up being pretty bad. So I don't get anything else out of it. So, this is ironically 2 focuses. So just hit crit. Han taking a lot less damage than we both expected him to, as he's going to re-roll and get that evade, of course. So it takes a crit, and I'm going to end up picking the crit here. The first one, the direct hit is usually what I go for, but then I wanted to see what else in case there was like a fuel leak or something. And there is a fuel leak, and I say, you know what? Vader and Merrick, I feel pretty good about having you have a fuel leak instead. I could always just pick a direct hit again. Either way, Han's only got 4 left. Spend that lock there. And then Sabine here to round out this round here. Shooting a range 2 shot in to Merrick. Merrick still healthy with that 3 shield, 3 hull. And we are going to see Sabine roll some paint. Spend the focus for 2. Nicely done, Sabine. And Merrick says no. He says, I'm going to just roll my 2 evades. All right, so we're probably coming up on the last round. It's 2-1 again in terms of objectives, so 13-8. I got a 5-point lead. I've got Luke facing the wrong way. I've got 3 ships able to pounce on a 4-hull Han Solo, and Sabine from the back, but not really threatening much because everything that I have near Sabine is fully healthy. So basically the goal now is just finish off Han, and that'll be the game. It'll get it to 20. That is one thing. So with Matt keeping the firing arc Han's arc front to back, it made him a lot more jousty. If he had side to side and decided to kind of kite around the obstacles, it may have brought him a little too far away from the fight, but it would have kept him a lot safer and made this game would have come down to Luke. Much more difficult to pin down, I feel like. But Vader would have had to change course and go after his son. Luke, take this mask off. Let me see you with my own eye. So just thinking there, 3 straight to clear the stress, and then gives me the opportunity to afterburners and reposition with a barrel roll if I need to. This is probably the most 4-star I've had SSP Vader be in my games in a while. I've kept his force count low, and it's fine because he's only taken a damage. It's been fine. But ideally, you want him to at least half the game have a couple force, not needing to spend 2 or 3 force every round. think we tied on this one, so we re-roll. A little re-roll the road roll. Definitely a bad roll, so it's going to be Matt. It is time for Sabine to go. And I think Matt's plan here was to try to scramble the center back, but Sabine goes a little too fast with the hard turn and does ram into the back of Merrick here. Just gonna take the red focus. He's trying. That's the thing with Matt's list. The firepower is Han and Luke. The Y-wings and Sabine are not really providing much firepower. All concussion bombs can certainly do some damage for sure, but being able to get rid of the Y-wings earlier made it very challenging for Matt to be able to kind of keep pace with the high agility efficiency that this Imperialist has. It makes it so good. So just sitting there with a focus. The max. It looks like I barely am out of arc of Luke. There is. Luke actually has a lock on Vader now, not on Tomax. We realize that in a second. But 2 banking here, focusing. I figure that I'm going to have side arc with Vader, so in a good spot. And Merrick does the same thing. He's going to take a target lock onto Han. And here comes Han. I figured he was going to go fast. He 3 straights to clear his stress. And he's sitting range 1 there. He does, I mean, that's pretty good for Bistan, but also bad because he has no health left. Here comes Vader. So first glance, you might think, oh, I went too fast or too far. But all you got to do is afterburners. And then spend a force. For my action, rather, I focus. And then spend a force 2 barrel roll. And I get range 1 on a 4-hole fuel leaked on. There it is. Easy money. Easy peasy. I do wish we had Matt's voice in this, because he was, not only do I love the accent, but he was a funny dude. We had a good time. Despite Han not having too much of a good time here the last few rounds. So Han gonna shoot into, I think he says shoots into Vader first. Yeah, he's looking at his options, and they're all pretty bad because everything's so healthy. That's pretty good. But he can't spend his focus. I think he ends up deciding to re-roll everything. He does, yep. And he gets a better roll. He gets hit crit, which is pretty good. And Vader, again, just rolls natty fates. Just so silly. Oh, Vader. And then we do our bonus attack, or our second attack with Bistan. Into Mauler. Hit crit. Can't spend the focus again. He's going to reroll everything. And he does end up spinning his focus. And I end up taking just 1. Yeah, man. So now Vader. So this is where I kind of am a bit of a cheeky asshole here, is I decide I want Merrick to be the one to finish off Han, just because it felt like Merrick deserved it. But it wasn't me trying to show up Matt by any means. It was me we were just having some fun. So I was like, well, he got the fuel leak, so I should probably only spend to make it for 2 instead of 3. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do a hit crit instead of spending the lock or anything. Just so Han, no matter what, will be taking 2 damage here with the fuel leak. So he rolls his die. And he re-rolls, and he gets the evade, which again, his re-rolls have been pretty good, as I alluded to earlier. And he takes a hit. He takes a crit, rather. It's a stun pilot, and then he takes damage from fuel leak, and he's down to 2 hull. And I'm over here like, okay, I got range 1 with Merrick with a target lock. And into a 1 agility ship with 2 hull left. And Luke has nothing, as we just checked. So Merrick goes, and this is where it gets funny, because like I think I feel so good about this, and then Merrick rolls crit, and then spends the lock, and again, doesn't get anything else. So I'm now like, oh, maybe I'm not going to kill Han with Merrick. Get the reroll and get the evade again. So he takes another crit, and I'm going to pick the crit. There's weapons failure, and then I think it's like double console fire, which is, definitely doesn't happen very often. And I'm like, sure, I'll just give you a weapons failure in case I completely whiff range 1 with backstabber. So we pick the weapons failure. Han's on 1. And here's backstabber, who 4 dice because Vader's in the side arc, and of course backstabber almost fails me, but he rolls exactly enough to get the kill here. Han re-rolls for fun, and of course he gets the evade, takes 1, and that's just enough. So me being silly and greedy almost, does me in there that turn, but yeah, whatever. We were just goofing around. Sabine, the last one to shoot here. Gonna shoot into backstabber. I joke about, maybe you could kill backstabber here. He does roll hit crit, so yeah, I mean, hit crit direct. If I blank out, it would do it, but of course I roll 2 paint spend, and that is the game. The final score ends up being 22-9. Once the Y-Wings went down, it was a bit of a lopsided affair. Thank you all so much for watching. Really appreciate it. See you all on the table soon.